From New York to Gaza.
From New York to Gaza.
Globalize the intifada.
Globalize the intifada.
From New York to Gaza.
From New York to Gaza.
Globalize the intifada.
Globalize the intifada.
From New York to Gaza.
New York to Gaza.
Globalize the intifada.
Globalize the intifada.
Now there are leaders amongst leaders, and there are a lot of leaders here with you today. It is an honor for me to introduce a comrade of mine, somebody who I look up to extremely, a figure of what feminism should look like, not capitalistic, not imperialistic, but feminism for women, feminism for oppressed women, women of color. It is an honor to introduce Nerdeen from Within Our Lifetime Palestine.
Thank you for that amazing and warm introduction. I look up to you. I look up to the people here. Spending July 4th not celebrating U.S. imperialism, not celebrating slavery and genocide and colonialism, but standing with the people, standing with the Mexican community in this neighborhood, standing with the Palestinian people resisting, standing with Puerto Rico and Colombia and Black liberation and indigenous people. This year on May 15th, we organized 50,000 people marching in the neighborhood of Bay Ridge, a historically Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim community. We marched to resist 73 years of the ongoing Nakba, or the catastrophe, when Zionist armed groups ethnically cleansed over 500 Palestinian villages and expelled 800,000 of the indigenous population during the establishment of the so-called State of Israel. This has caused widespread displacement of the Palestinian people, and Palestinian refugees continue to make up the largest refugee population with over 10 million worldwide. 1 in 3 refugees is Palestinian. Even though we're one of the world's largest and oldest refugee populations, we're often excluded from the discussion on migration due to the so-called divisive nature of our struggle. But let me be clear that the only reason our struggle is deemed divisive is not because it's complicated or because it's a religious conflict, as they often try to depict, but because to accept and support our struggle is to directly combat U.S. imperialism and oppose U.S. hegemony. The majority of our people don't live in our homeland, but in refugee camps in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and in exile around the world. Many of those who have managed to stay within the small area that has been designated for Palestinians are internal refugees from other cities in Palestine. And it's been these expelled refugee Palestinians who have been the vanguard of our struggle against Zionism, keeping the struggle alive from all parts of Palestine, despite attempts from all sides to kill and silence them. It's no coincidence that Israel and the U.S. have taken on the same tactics. They are perfect mirror images of each other, built as settler colonial states through the genocide of indigenous people that they believed would go quietly into the night. But just as the indigenous people of the Americas have continued the fight for over 500 years, so too have the Palestinians resisted the last 70 years of genocide by any means necessary. We must ask, why do our people go thousands of miles to move their homes or face bullets from occupying forces? How does the Zionist entity continue to occupy our lands and displace our people after 70 years? The root cause is imperialism and colonialism. It was British and French imperialism that divided the Middle East after World War I and financed and supported Zionism. And it is U.S. imperialism that has sustained Israel to the tune of $3.1 billion annually in foreign aid in order to safeguard imperialism's hold on the region. Zionism watchdog not only in the Middle East, but in occupied lands in North and South America. The Zionist enemy preyed upon the people to further the goals of imperialism for decades. U.S. intervention in Latin America is well known and well documented. But the role of the Zionist state to suppress popular movements in Latin America has been purposefully suppressed. The U.S.-backed dictator Somoza killed 50,000 people in Nicaragua, while 98% of his weapons were provided by Israel. Israel was the biggest arms dealer to the U.S.-backed death squads in Guatemala in the 80s. Israel provided weapons to the Contras, Pinochet, Salvadoran death squad, Trujillo in the Dominican Republic, the military dictatorship in Argentina, and now the fascist Bolsonaro in Brazil is developing closer relations with the Zionist enemy than ever before. The U.S.-Israeli relationship with dictator-backed regimes continues all over the world. And as we all know, the story of dispossession, colonialism, ethnic cleansing, and imperialism is not a story unique to Palestine. All around the world, from Brazil to Mexico to the Philippines to the internal colonies of the United States to Palestine, we see a story of imperialist domination and people's struggle. And as we speak, thousands of people whose communities have been destroyed, millions of people whose lands have been plundered by decades of U.S. intervention and economic terrorism are acting in resistance. The struggle of migrants and the struggle of Palestinian resistance are not unlike one another. Separated by the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, and the resistance of the Latin American peoples and the Palestinians have these common experiences, not out of abstract coincidences or happenings, but for the simple fact that we have a common enemy. The enemy of the Palestinian people are the enemy of the people of the land we stand on now. As Palestinian freedom fighter Layla Khalid once said in the Philippines, as long as the imperialists globalize their system, we will globalize as well. Our demand is clear and can be summarized in one word: return. We will return to take back what has been stripped of us. We will take back what has been stripped of us by imperialism and Zionism. We will return to our homes not only in Ramallah and Khan Yunis, but in Jerusalem and Jaffa. And as migrants and refugees, we will drive out imperialism, return to our homelands, and build a new society based on justice and dignity. The ability for the Palestinian people to create a future free from colonial domination is directly related to the ability of people here to create such a society. It will not be a footnote in a United Nations report or a statistic in the next human rights documentary. Palestinian return means revolution by any means necessary, not just for the Palestinian and Arab people, but a confrontation with the imperialist machine that stomps the life out of the people from Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Palestine, Yemen, and Syria. The cutting of the chains around the throats of the Latin American peoples means that the chain will be easier for us to cut around ours. They can shoot us, bomb us, starve us, blockade us, strangle our economies, and poison our land. They can cut our olive trees down in Palestine, and they can cut our forests down in Brazil. But the people of this land have demonstrated that 500 years of colonial plundering cannot stop the resistance of oppressed people. And Palestinian history over the past century shows us this too. In fact, the past few months of resistance in Gaza shows us this. The shared history of our people on both sides of the world shows us that while they can do all of this to us, it has never and will never stop us from taking back what is ours. We didn't the borders crossed us, and from Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go.
All the walls have got to go.
Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. Give it up one more time for Within Our Lifetime.
Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. The state of Israel must go.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
Up with